I'm Sam from Jessup Says. The focus of my channel is to share and educate on how to buy less, buy better. It's not necessarily about buying less things, it's about buying something that fits its purpose perfectly and serves you for as long as possible. Now, I don't want my channel to become too much of a style channel. I feel that there are plenty of well-dressed men out there for a variety of different styles and backgrounds who can offer that sort of advice. In saying that, I think one of the biggest questions that we have these days is, how do we dress for the workplace? And to me, most importantly, how can I strike a balance between being stylish, expressing my personal style, and investing in quality items, whilst still adhering to the dress code of a professional workplace? Because we all know that for some items, when you wear it daily, regardless of what you do for work, things just tend to wear out. And at the same time, a lot of what we are sold as work clothing is poorly made. Basically, it's just a commodity item. So let's discuss how you may want to change that. Straight into it with shirts and knitwear, which are really the soldiers of our wardrobes. Depending on your climate and the time of the year, something like a button-down shirt and possibly some knitwear is going to be your literal workhorses in terms of daily use. You are going to wear them all day, every day. They're going to be full of sweat, they're going to wear out fairly quickly, and that's just simply due to being on your body and the abrasion that you put into a garment, just in a general day. As such, it's one area that I wouldn't actually spend a lot of money on. For me, in the shirts and knitwear section, I'd focus more on finding something that's maybe a bit more of a mainstream brand that makes something that fits you as good as possible, and then getting a few different colors of that shirt to last you as long as possible. For my body, I found that TM Lewin was very comfortable, and the classic old school Brooks Brothers fit was perfect, though I'm not sure what it is like anymore. I always purchase my shirts on a special or in a bundle, and I got things like classic white, blue, and pinks. These shirts tended to last me about 2 or maybe 3 years of daily wear, but essentially they were very comfortable in both the hot and cooler weather that we get here in Melbourne. Another great option would be Uniqlo, as they're fairly good quality and they also fit me pretty well, though they can be a little on the slim side, so make sure you try it on before you buy it. Uniqlo is also who I'd recommend for knitwear. Their extra fun merino comes in somewhere between $40 and $60 depending on the week and the sale and the season. They come in a V-neck, a crew neck, a mock neck, a turtleneck, and pretty much every single color that you can think of. They're all very, very wearable and very useful. I've had one for about 5 years, and the first 3 years of that was actually daily wear during the winter months. After those 3 years of daily wear, it looks a little worse for wear, and I wouldn't wear it to work anymore per se, but it's still a fantastic casual garment, and I still use it to keep myself warm in winter. Basically, the strategy for knitwear and shirts is buy something decent, wear it hard, wash it regularly, and do your best to keep it looking as presentable as possible until it's not, and then move on. In my experience, it hasn't ever been worth doing made to measure or paying a lot for these kinds of items, because ultimately they just don't last. I don't feel the same about occasional shirts or having a shirt for events or special meetings, like a really nice crisp white one that you just pull on when you need to feel special. But generally speaking, this is the way that I feel it's best to approach shirts and knitwear. Trousers, on the other hand, don't feel as disposable. I know some guys out there blow out their crotches and their thighs wear through a lot quicker than mine do, but for the most part, it's not the worst idea to invest in a good pair of trousers or pants. Now, what kind of pants or what kind of trouser will depend on your workplace, but there are a few things that you can do to focus on that will give you the best possible chance to keep them for as long as possible. Those being fit and fabric. Starting with the fit, you want to ensure that your pants aren't tight anywhere. Around the calves, the thighs, under the crotch, and the bum. You want to make sure that there's plenty of fabric to allow you to sit down, stand up, walk around without there being lots of rubbing between your thighs, and therefore wearing out that fabric prematurely. Or popping a stitch in the bum area, as sometimes is the case. And you want to ensure that they're not too long, because you don't want them to drape on the floor and ruin the hems and therefore destroy the trousers over time. This is the best way I've found to ensure that the pants last a little bit longer, and for me it's actually a more comfortable fit once you get used to it and overcome the initial visual change from a skinnier pant. The fabric is the other key element for your trousers, and the simple idea here is just to keep it natural. By that I mean go for wool for suit trousers or for the cold winter, things like a pair of flannels. For chinos, go for cotton made from Australia or Japanese or American cotton. and for denim, look for the same things. Ultimately, you just want to avoid things like stretch materials and synthetic materials. They always seem to be comfortable in theory, but in my experience, they tend to just make the structure of the fabric lesser than it would be otherwise, which over time just means that the fabric tends to deteriorate and just doesn't last as long as it would if it was just wool or cotton by itself. Footwear is probably the place that most people could do to spend a little bit more time and money on for their wardrobes. Your shoes or boots are the things that literally connect you to the ground. They're what makes for a day that's either comfortable or unbearable after a few hours on your feet. I say it in every video that I talk about shoes, which is most videos, but you owe it to yourself to investigate a range of different shoe brands and find a brand that fits your feet. Not just the first pair that looked half decent when you walked into the mall. In Australia, I know this is particularly challenging because for quite a lot of people out there, there are literally no good quality brands and shoes and boots within a drivable location that they can go and try on. And I know that online shopping can be a little bit intimidating for a lot of people. Lucky for us in this crazy digital age, things like free shipping and returns is fairly standard, if not the norm. And if you're really concerned about it, I would just find a brand that offers that. It's still a pain, it's still a time commitment. Either way, whether you're going and spending the time in store, walking around, trying on a bunch of shoes, or you order them online and you get them in and try and find the size that works for you. It's time, it's money, but it really is a worthwhile investment to get it right for the long run. As for what you should look for, well, welted footwear is a bare minimum for footwear that you're going to wear every single day and you want to last. It looks decent for a long time typically. Sneakers might be super comfortable, and a good pair of leather sneakers, as we've talked about before, is a fantastic option for a casual Friday and for your weekends. But for the majority of your days, you're going to be wanting something in a leather Goodyear welted boot or shoe. There are other types of welts and they all have their pros and cons, but the Goodyear welt is the most cost effective, easiest to find, and easiest to repair by most cobblers. As for trying to assess the leather that you're looking at things like the type and the quality of leather can be a little bit confusing and hard to actually know what you're getting. So I'd recommend looking at channels like Rose Anvil to see if he's cut apart a pair of boots from that company or a similar company, or look through his catalog and see what he has cut up so you can get a really good idea of what's actually in the shoes before you buy them. Or you can just simply stick to the brands that I mention on my videos and pretty much every footwear video and just follow that kind of list to hopefully help find something that suits you. Another tip for your shoes is getting shoe trees. I just get cheap pairs from Muji in Melbourne Central, but wherever you can find them cheaply and locally, that's the best option for you. Something is better than nothing. You want it to be wood, cedar wood ideally, so that it helps to dry out your shoes so that they can dry out properly and that you can wear them more often. And finally, not trying to wear the same pair of shoes on back-to-back day, or maybe not like 3 times in a row if you can help it. I know it's tempting, but giving your shoes and the leather a bit of a break from your sweaty feet is going to help them dry out properly, once again with those shoe trees, and therefore they're going to last longer. Obviously, if you want to talk about caring for your leather and the shoes, that's a whole another topic, but it's definitely worthwhile investing in good quality leather conditioner. Probably worth another video, but there is a lot of information out there about leather, and I'm not a leather guy, I just like cleaning my shoes. Socks are a topic that I feel like most people neglect, but everyone benefits from. Much like a good pair of shoes, a good pair of socks is going to help you get a lot more comfortable and keep more comfortable throughout your day. The type of socks that you want to wear, once again, depends on what you're going to wear on your feet, but there's a pretty simple solution, once again, and it happens to be Uniqlo. I've got socks that are multiple times more expensive, and whilst they may be a tad more comfortable for some of my shoes, for the vast majority of my days, I tend to pick out my classic Uniqlo crew socks. My preference for my proper office shoes, like my bespoke shoes, is an over-the-calf sock. In this case, I'd go for something like Mazarin out of Monsieur Rocher in Paris. Those things are insanely comfortable, and they're really the most comfortable sock you can buy, but they don't last anywhere near as long as my Uniqlo socks do. And I can't wear them with as many different types of shoes and loafers and sneakers and everything else like I do with my Uniqlo socks. The Uniqlo socks themselves aren't actually anything special, but they are comfortable, they seem to be well made, and they last a really, really long time without wearing through. I'm at like over 5 years on about 4 of my pairs right now, and they've got no holes at this stage. Bonus is that they're extremely affordable at around $5 Australian each. Now, jackets are one place that admittedly spending a bit more money does get you a better product, but it will really depend on what a jacket means for your workplace. If it's a casual workplace, then you want something like a casual jacket, maybe something a little bit more workwear inspired, cotton or denim, or maybe even something military inspired. Either way, that's kind of the scope that you want to look at, something workwear or military inspired. Again, you want to focus on natural materials, cotton, wool, denim, and choose something that can be washed because you want to wear this quite a lot and it'll need to be washed just because you'll be wearing it a lot. I also think it's really nice to have something that you can wash yourself instead of having to go to a dry cleaner, but dry cleaners are definitely worth it if you're looking at a more formal jacket. If it is a more formal workplace, then it's something like a suit or tie workplace, then I'd recommend finding a local or even an online tailor and working with them to make something that's made to measure. I say made to measure as someone who has tried on a ton of different jackets, from $50 ones from Target to $600 off the rack ones, and they just never fit quite right. Definitely not for the money when you're paying for those top end jackets. Now, fit is so important with a nice blazer or a nice suit jacket because it's not just for the comfort, but it's also for the confidence that you feel when you're wearing a garment like this. But fit also helps a lot when you're talking about reducing the wear in certain areas of the garment. A well-tailored garment is built to follow your body as you move and you wear it, say, on a plane, back to a meeting, in the car. It's this kind of work where you're constantly moving in that suit, in my experience, that any kind of suit is going to wear out. But a tailored jacket is going to fit you better. Wear less in certain areas. For me, that happens to be under the arms, across the chest, and like around the back. It can pull a lot and therefore sort of wear out and the stitches get loose quite quickly. Ultimately, a made to measure jacket is not going to have those same issues. And also, if it does have issues, then you can go back to that same tailor and ask them to repair it. A good tailor will also be able to advise you on things like what type of fabric that you want for your climate, things that are more abrasion resistant if you feel like you are particularly wearing through in certain areas. And they can also do things like reinforce areas like under the arms or in the crotch if you know that you wear something in a particular way or wear something out in a particular way. It may seem scary, but with most things, the time you invest into getting this particular thing right will pay off, and you're literally going to be wearing it every day, so why not just invest in yourself? When dressing for the workplace, balancing style and professionalism can be a challenge, let alone trying to invest in something that's going to last you more than just a couple of years. When you're looking at anything, it's definitely important to consider the type of material that it's made out of, focusing on natural materials, and of course, it's very, very important. Probably the most important thing is to focus on nailing the fit. Having something that fits you properly is going to ensure that it's going to last longer, but it's also going to be more comfortable in the long run, and also it's going to fit you better and make you more confident when you're wearing that thing, which I think is quite important. This whole process requires thoughtful choices and a bit of time investment, but I think it's worthwhile, especially because you go to work every day, so why not? Thanks very much for watching. Links are in the description as always, and look forward to seeing you in the next one. Cheers. For me, it happens to be under the arms, across the